Well, you all are in for a treat today because our next guest is hailing to us from the beautiful country of Australia. And she is no other than Michelle Junot, who helps high performing professionals overcome, get this, and I know you all can relate to this, overcome stress, overwhelm, and procrastination so you can live the life you love while also making a difference. Through her books and live events and her signature programs, like, and we're going to be talking about this one, Mindset Makeover, Redesign Your Mind for Success. She has empowered millions of people to achieve high new heights of spiritual aliveness, wealth, and authentic, listen to that, authentic success. Michelle, welcome. And Dee Dee, you had the pleasure to spend a little time with Michelle. Why don't you lead us into Michelle's next story?
Yes. Well, thank you so much again, Michelle, for being here. And I'm super excited and honored to have you share your experience with us. And I know there's so much I already know about you. However, I would love for the audience to get to hear from you in terms of where it all started for Michelle. Like, how did you start from where you are into where you are here today, and what got you into really doing what you do, and what is your true story and how it all started?
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much, LY and Dee Dee, for inviting me on your show. And apologies to everybody if you have a little bit of trouble understanding my accent, because obviously I'm speaking Australian now, mate. It's getting into winter here, but spring for you guys up north, so you can throw another snag on the Barbie. I'll try and throw in other Australianisms along the way so that you can hear the funny accent as we go. But thank you guys for having me on the show today. And it's really wonderful to be here and to share with your viewers just a little bit more about me and my business and why I'm so passionate about it. So if I go back to where I essentially started from, I was working in corporate land like many people do, and I discovered that there was a theme running through everything that I'd been doing. And that theme was very much that ever since I'd been in the workforce, I'd been in the workforce that was going through some large scale transformation. And I'd seen firsthand that every time we went to do a new project, a new activity, a new this or a new that, the thing that the organisation and people had problems with was the change and the rate of change and the technology, believe it or not, of that change. So as time went by and I reached a point where I decided to set up my own business, I also realised that throughout that same period of time, I'd been studying with some of the masters in the personal development space, people like John Demartini and many others, where I'd even been in LA doing a leadership course for a month through a group called Insight Organisation. So I had actually, unbeknownst to me, been doing the personal development, leadership courses and skills and training at the same time I'd been doing the corporate development in terms of leadership skills and training. So I brought all of that together a number of years ago now under what I was calling at that time the mindful leadership work that I was doing. It was at the time where mindful leadership was taking off and everybody on the planet basically was talking about it. But very soon, what I found that because of my background in corporate, what I was able to do was work more individually with some of those things that I was talking about the procrastination, about the stress. So I was working more and more with professionals right across corporate and also small business owners who are stuck essentially with some of those mindset concerns about how do I move forward from here? How do I get to those visions, to those dreams, to those goals, to those projects, to those programs, to those transformations? How do I get past where I am now and move forward, needing to keep going? But, you know, when there's so much going on and you can get so bogged down in your everyday tasks.
You know, I think you speak to countless especially women, who probably was on that same trajectory and journey as you. I mean, I was in corporate America, and and trying to break that proverbial glass ceiling. And it felt like every time I try to break the ceiling, they raise it a little higher, they raise it a little higher, raise it a little higher. So I got burnt out, and I felt overwhelmed. I felt stressed. I felt like I was procrastinating on my real true self and what I wanted for my life. And the procrastination led to my delaying and getting further and further away from my vision for my life versus everyone else's vision for my life. How did you finally tap into that to say, you know what, today is the day?
Well, you see, I was very lucky in some ways, and people might find it a bit strange me describing luck as being, my father passed away when I was quite young. And so I guess I learned early on how precious time is. And I saw how so many women like myself went through exactly what you described. I wanted to be head of one of the largest mining companies when I was a young adult. And I was going to be CEO of this and CEO of that. And exactly that, I found very, very quickly that the biases, the this, the that, the career paths that weren't open to me just because of my gender soon showed me and opened me up to the fact that perhaps that wasn't where I could shine and where I could really step into being myself. But the turning point, I guess, was I reached an age, like many women and like some of your viewers, where I knew that if I was going to take control of my future, and it was really getting to that point where, okay, it's quite critical now. If I don't take control of my future and start doing things to plan for me, as opposed to putting everybody else first, the company, my friends, my family, putting everybody else first. If I didn't step forward and put me first, suddenly I realized that my life would be over and I wouldn't have done those activities and created those things that I describe it as making my heart sing. When I'm in my zone, it's like my heart sings. And that aha moment that I get when I'm working with business owners that go, oh, I can do this. I can actually make money. I can use my genius. I can use all of the wealth and the talent and the information I have, and I can translate it like I did from the corporate world into the small business world. But more importantly, I can translate it into making my dreams come true. I can translate it into building a lifestyle business that I then have, and it helps me to build my future and the future for my family. And also importantly for women, I start to become the role model for the children and the people in my life, that I'm putting me first, not in a, not lesser way for everybody else, but as a great role model, that you are then showing boundaries. You're showing that instead of procrastination and feeling stuck in, I wish I could do this, I want to do that, you actually then just go and do it. And whether it's writing a book like I've done, or any of the other many, many activities and examples I can share, it's that switch in your mind. And that's why I guess eventually I came to this point, because I'd done that switch in my mind so many times that I can really help other people to look for those tools and tricks for how to actually switch it in their mind away from the company, the children, the this, the that, to them putting themselves first. And from there, everybody wins. The other people win because you're happier, you're able to give them more money, more time, strangely enough, than you would normally. But it's because you've chosen you first, and around that you've built your world and you start to grow. And as I said, my heart starts to sing and your heart starts to sing.
Absolutely. When you were just talking about that, Michelle, it reminded me of something that I've come to recognize that pretty much most people deal with. And we, especially as women, when we have that aha moment and we make the decision to go towards our calling or what's making our heart sing. And it usually, I call it the triple T's. It usually comes from one of these T's. It comes from either trauma. So we had some kind of trauma in our life, maybe a loss or divorce or something, right? It comes from tragedy. Something tragic happens and it makes us have that wake up call. Or it comes from a transformation, that we made a decision that for whatever, we might have saw we probably read some self-help book, or we went to some personal development, or somebody inspired or empowered us to transform our lives, right? And those are, for me, I think sometimes, and you said, I hope people don't mistake that I said, I lost my father and it was, a gift, or it was a pleasant surprise. You meant it in a respectful way, because out of those loss, or one of those T's, it forces us to step into what makes our heart sing sometimes, and it gets us away from procrastinating or whatever. Would that be true for what you went through as well, one of those T's?
I would definitely say about the T's, because there's many, many great examples, but I think the 3 T's are a great way that you've described there for people to understand what motivates them for change. Because one of the first things that I ask people when they come to see me and when I start working with them is, what has changed now? So people might have wanted to lose weight, might have wanted to start a business, write a book. There's many different things that they may have wanted to do, but there is some trigger as to why they're doing it at that point in time. And I think your 3 T's explains it quite well. The reason I was talking about my father passing, and it was a long time ago now, so that's why I can talk about it and feel perfectly fine, is that sometimes that trauma or those T's that you described are a little bit more hidden. And I think it's really important for the timing of how we're doing this interview and everything now, for people to recognize that the transformation, I don't want to use trauma, but the transformation that they've gone through with COVID, with the technology changes that were coming even before COVID, mean that your life is changing. So just like I had the aha moment where I needed to take control so that I could build my future a number of years ago, build my business, build my this, build my that, I really encourage your viewers to actually go, okay, this is the time. Some people, and it's very, very sad, have lost jobs, have lost loved ones. In the States where you guys are, it's been, my heart goes out every time I see the statistics, the 500,000 dead, the this, the that, the whatever. It can become mind numbing when you keep hearing these sorts of, school shootings at the shops, whatever it might be, that there's kind of a narrative of trauma, if you like, on the media and in life nowadays. And that transformation, I want to keep changing trauma to transformation, because I think trauma can keep you stuck sometimes in that shock and that overwhelm of the emotion, whereas transformation, you can actually go, well, okay, I'm feeling that, but I want to use that energy and transform it into my next steps. I want to use that as a wake-up call, like we're talking about, to go, okay, it could be me going to the shops. If I was going to the shops and something terrible happened to me or my loved ones, do I want to then be thinking, oh, I wish I had, I should have, I could have? Or do I want to use that emotion that I'm feeling now and take it into that transformation space? And I'm describing some of the things that I do when I'm working with clients and how I help them to reframe and reset from what may be going on in their life or in the world, to actually make that energy and that focus to go for what they want, and to really, like I keep saying, make the heart sing, expand into their future direction. And for me, it was events like my father dying when I was quite young, and other similar sorts of events that were triggers at the time. And I went through that same journey. It was a bit of trauma, but then it turned into a transformation opportunity. And because I stepped up to it and I had support around me, that's where I was able to then go off and do the things I wanted to do. I traveled the world. I did all sorts of incredible stories that if we had a few days, I could tell you all the stories.
Well, one that I'm really curious to hear, like, what was your first business aspiration, and what led to that?
Interesting enough, one of my first businesses, so I was actually 18 when I was running my first organisation in Perth in Western Australia. And at that time, I was running some student housing, and I had $1 million budget and 5 staff. And it was really interesting when I look at my career and think back to, I was still studying business. And even at that time, I had staff, I had holiday, concerns to think about, if that person was away, who's going to cover, all of those things that as business owners we think about now. And I remember those times and thinking, gee, I didn't actually know what I was doing, but because of the way that I am, I engaged the people that were working for me, and we kind of co-managed and co-led the organisation, because, you know, I was a young kid and didn't really know anything. But that style of management is what then helped me to go through lots of transformations and organisations, and then eventually set up my own business. And then when I'm building my business, or was building my business, and engaging staff to come on for me across the world, I was able to also do that, because obviously I don't know some of the wording for America, you know, like we might call it a shopping trolley, you might call it a shopping cart. So some of the translation, and it's a pepper, or rather a capsicum, or a tomato, all of these different funny little words and nuances that you need people and staff in each of the different cultures to be able to talk and translate, in some cases, into the language of the clients that you're working with.
You know, you have a program that's called Mindset Makeover, redesign your mind for success. What are some things, that takeaways people can, women, especially women, can think about when they're looking at what they need to know about building their business or their brand?
Well, I think that is the most important question for every woman, whether they're actually a small business woman, or wanting to become a small business woman, or somebody still in corporate. One of the things I've been so excited about here in Australia is seeing more and more younger women who are actually in the workforce and working for other people, but starting to set up their own business. Because I think part of that transformation journey that I keep talking about is everybody is going to be part of the gig economy. So no matter what stage of the entrepreneurial journey you are at now, I really, truly believe that you are going to need to treat yourself as a brand, and I'll explain that a little bit more, but also set up a business. Now, in the olden days, it used to be like an Avon business or an Amway business. So people aren't that, setting up your own business isn't that foreign a concept to most women, really. But setting up a business with that intention that it's going to be a business, I think, is slightly different. But let me start with the branding for as an example to start with. So I know that and I love to talk about topical recent events, because that can always help people to kind of relate.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at Harry and Meghan, so brand Harry and Meghan, or even brand Trump. Now, I'm not going to talk about whether you like them or dislike them, or whether you love or want to kill whoever it is. All of these different.
We won't say no names.
Yeah. Just fill in the feeling that you have underneath, but think of these brands. Mm-hmm. So these brands are really, really important, because what you see is, again, it's not about the company, it's not about what they do, it's not about this, it's not about that. They have understood from the days of the Kardashians, they have understood that it's all about building the brand and then the transferability of that brand. So for everyday people like ourselves and the viewers, what that looks like is on LinkedIn, it's on Facebook, it's on wherever you have an online social presence. It's also offline. So if you're a soccer mum, if you're somebody that works in a high profile role in an office, or whether you're somebody that works at the local shopping centre or shopping mart, I'm trying to think of the American word, but shopping centre, the Walmarts of the world. If you are one of these people, which is everybody, then you have a brand. And as a part of that gig economy, they say that whatever Google search says about you is who you are. So it's, again, taking control of that narrative, so that if somebody searches for your name, what you want to come up is great information about you, great photos, great parts that explain who you are and what you do. In terms of the business, similarly, whether you've got a business that's got Google reviews and it's on LinkedIn, it's on here, it's on there, you want your business to be, out there and known and shared with the world. So my program that you were asking about, the Mindset Makeover, redesigning your mind for success, that whole program takes you through that stuck, that procrastination, the stress, all of those different elements, But I do it under 3 key areas or 3 key pillars that I talk about. So the first pillar is actually around personal branding and influence. And what we do in that pillar is we look at self-worth. So especially for women, you know, I don't look good enough, I don't look young enough, I don't look thin enough, I don't look fat enough, I don't look whatever. So self-worth is something that for women, we actually have to work with. It never goes away. We work through that throughout our lives. And as we were talking about earlier, moving from a space where you're placing everybody else before you. And I realise that it's a very Christian thing to do as well, to give to others before you give to yourself. But self-worth is actually recognising and moving into that space where you're putting yourself first so that you can then take care of others. And some people have heard, hang on a second. Sorry about that.
No
Some
problem.
people heard about the airline example where when you get on the plane, they say to put on your mask before you put on the mask for your child next to you. This is what I'm talking about. So I'm talking about learning your self-worth so that you can put your mask on first and then help your children and others around you and your bosses and your friends and your colleagues. So the first pillar that we work on is the personal branding, so that you learn more about self-worth so that you then take control of that narrative on Google, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, whatever your social media, it might even be, you know, Pinterest or something like that. Wherever you want to build your business and want to build your brand, and for many women watching this, it may even be Instagram is where they want to build what they're known for and what they do. The second pillar that we work through is around resilience. So in terms of resilience, think of it as being like when you feel like that overwhelm and you want to just crunch down and you don't want to look at the world and you're going, oh my God, you know, I've got a list this long to do and this much time today to do it. So we work through that overwhelm, and what we do is we help you to actually recognize that you're not about to die, because the feeling can be very real. So we work through those feelings to begin with. Once you actually get through, and for many people that have been through some form of trauma, this trauma and these emotions come up, and that's why the overwhelm is a little bit more than normal for that most people would have just a normal overwhelm. These people are kind of stuck in this cycle of having a quite strong reaction to this overwhelm. So we recognise what's going on. We don't fix it. That's for other people. If you need to go and fix it, we can recommend you to people to do that. But what we do is we help you to recognise it, to place it to the side so that you can then again, whether it's your family or whatever, it can also be your emotions, like the baggage that's dragging you down, putting that to the side and going, no, I'm working on my self-worth. It's that whole thing of looking to the future and going, this is where I'm going, and I'm not going to let anything stop me from going there. So that second element around self-confidence, we work with in the resilience area. You know, how can I do this? How can I move forward, step forward into where I want to be going? All of this comes together quite beautifully, I think, in our third pillar, which is around purpose and legacy. So we've talked a little bit about this transition and the transformation that people are going through at the moment. A large thing for women is, you know, what kind of world am I leaving for my children? What kind of impact am I going to have on the world? So what we want to do is actually help them to identify what their purpose is so that they can then see, well, what kind of legacy am I going to leave in the planet? Now, purpose and why, you know, everybody on the planet talks about why, and Simon Sinek is probably the most famous person. And even in this space, we look at some of the work by the wonderful Brené Brown around vulnerability. Mm-hmm. You know, why do I think that I can do X? Why do I think that little old me will have an impact, and why? But time and again, and throughout the world and throughout history, there are so many examples of the impact of one person. You know, if that one person hadn't have been there to be kind to the other person at that point in time, then this wouldn't have happened and that wouldn't have happened. If that one woman hadn't have been there to raise that child that nobody else wanted, then that child wouldn't have gone on and cured cancer, et cetera, et cetera. So women especially, because of our more nurturing natures and the way that we do look, and we're hardwired to look at the world, when we're looking at our purpose and our legacy, it means it's not about, like when we were joking when we were younger, we're not going to all go, oh, I still want to be CEO of the biggest mining company or whatever. We're now going to be thinking about our legacy in terms of, for me, one of the aha moments again around it was when my book went into the National Library here in Australia, and I realised my book is going to be there for posterity. When my book went onto Amazon, and I went, oh my God, you know, it's just going to sit there on an Amazon now forever, you know. So we have so many more opportunities, going back to those digital changes, than we've ever had, to actually make such a difference on the planet and to others. And to also, when we're looking at our legacy, think of it in that much broader sense than just being CEO or impact. Of course, the impact with children and family is really important, but also bigger than that. You know, what were you doing and what were your dreams before you had children? Who were you as a person before you became who you are now as a mother, as a provider, as a this, as that. So this is why I keep coming back to all of these are about finding what makes your heart sing, so that you can then build that business and build that life for you. And your family and the people around you are like your cheer. I know Americans love cheerleading. They are your cheer squad. They are the cheer squad, and you are the football, soccer team. I'll translate again. The soccer team. You are the soccer, not just the soccer mum, but your business is the soccer team. And you are the coach, and you hire different consultants and people to support you, because you need to delegate, just like you delegate homework to the kids and housework and things to the kids. You need to delegate to different people in your business, because they're experts. You don't need to become, that's the other thing about overwhelm. You don't need to become an expert in all the different areas. You reach out to people like myself and other people that you guys will have on the series, and you get that expertise, and you learn how to delegate. You learn how to do those basic skills. And that's why I love the topic for today, because it's about building that brand, and that's really important, but it's also about building the business. And what we do is work very much with professionals to help them move through all of those emotional kind of constraints and other life issues that come up, and build that business and build it on a rock solid foundation, so that they have the cheerleading team, they have the vision, and they have the goal of where they're going. But they also have the mindset, which is why it all comes back to mindset for the work that we do. So they understand what's going on in their life. They understand what's going on in their business and their world and their history of where they've come from and where they're going to. And we really help them to set up that foundation. We look at it like a foundation for a house. And then after you've got that foundational elements around the business and about yourself, you can then start to build some of these key pillars and grow and develop and do more and play a bigger role and play a bigger part on the planet.
That's what I was thinking as you were speaking. I was like, really, I love your model and methodology, because you really get down to the foundational elements. It's like you said with the house. If the foundation crumbles, then the whole business crumbles, right? Whether it's the business of you as a brand, or the business in terms of what you're serving or offering, or just the business in terms of your peace of mind. Because you don't have peace of mind if you don't start with that mindset, and you crumble, you're no good to anyone. You can't even put your own mask on, right?
Yep. Exactly. And safety, I think, is one of the key things, and it's the key emotional driver, if you like, for many women, is the sense of safety. So am I safe in this job? Am I safe in this relationship? Am I safe in this? And I'm safe in that. Being another woman, I and my team, we really understand, we get that with women. So we understand that, you know, whether it's self-worth or self-confidence or self-control, around these three different areas, what people and what women, much more so than men, need to feel like is that they feel safe. They feel safe to be able to build the foundations for their new life. So although we talk about the business, there's so many elements of building that new life, because really putting yourself first, and all of those different elements is about building that new life. But we encourage so many people to just start. And with COVID and as I was saying, the digital transformation that was already happening, if you don't make this change and the steps today, then you're going to keep losing that time in your life where you could be building that foundation today. And you know, time, as we know, is very, very precious. And before you know it, another 5 years has gone by and you've gone, oh, gee, you know, I should have done this. I could have done that. And we really encourage everybody, no matter what way it is, to just start today, to start to think, well, okay, if I'm going on this path and if I'm going on this journey, what is it that I need to do today to take that first step? And then take that first step and then take the second step and just keep building. And that momentum, one of the things I'm sure some of your other guests will talk a lot more about as well is the energetic side. So we mentioned at the beginning about coming into that natural and that hearth space. So the energetic side for me comes about with surrounding yourself with similar people. So surrounding yourself with people on that same journey. So video seminars like the one you're doing today, there's many, many more of these types of wonderful opportunities for people to see and hear more and more people that are actually on the same journey. Like you're saying, LY, we both came out of a corporate background. But nowadays, with COVID and with all the different transformation and changes happening, there's a real shift. And I talk about it to many people as being like the shift to the gig economy. Because not necessarily everybody's going to become an entrepreneur, but they may start working in contractual type of roles where they're working online for people all over the world now. So you'll get to hear funny accents like mine all the time.
Yes. Yes.
Time zone, you know,
I feel like COVID has, as tragic and traumatic as it's been, and I mean that very respectfully, it has really opened the gateway to a new way of thinking, living, and being.
It has. And if you even think about it, many years ago, I got used to this concept that you guys are sitting there and it's Thursday, late afternoon, early evening where you are. And I'm actually on Friday morning, you know, it's breakfast here and it's dinner time there. All of those different, I love Einstein and relativity, because that relativity about where you are in the world and what, you know, like you look at the different cultures that we represent, even in what this little microcosm of the world, it doesn't matter anymore. The times don't matter, the cultures don't matter, nothing matters. The key thing that one of the key things I really hope the viewers take away is that in the gig economy, like in the entrepreneur world, people don't care about a lot of those old cultural concepts and that old mindset. What they care about is outcomes and relationships.
Yes.
So they want to know, can I work with you? You know, I don't care if you're in Timbuktu in you know, the Amazon or in Alaska or wherever you are. I don't care anymore where you are. I want to know that you are an expert at what you do and that you can help me and that we can work together. So those three areas, you know what you're doing, we can work together so that the time zone's not too completely crazy and that we can get on. So, you know, sometimes you don't get on with people and sometimes you just naturally gel. So those changes mean that the opportunities are now global. And that's another reason why you need to start making these changes and changing in the mindset to think, okay, it's global, it's digital, it's this, it's that. I may or may not know too much about all of that, and that's fine. Wherever you're starting, or if you know all of that, but you know you need to know more and you need to know more, then that's where when I was talking about connecting in with support groups, I love, you know, my family grew up with Avon and Amway and all of that, like many families. And I love those kinds of women's groups supporting each other in a day pre-technology. In a way, if people think about it as nowadays, the technology is there so that you can actually come together. And I myself, it's funny, on Facebook, I created a group for people named Michelle with one L because my name only has the one L. I was shocked. I got people from all over the planet joining, and the incredible thing was we all had the same stories. We'd never met, we never knew each other. Like, it's not a salesy thing. It was just a experiment on my path. But the world is such now that if you want to reach out to people that say podiatrists selling to one-legged veterans, for example, you could actually set up a group on Facebook or somewhere else in social media looking for podiatrists selling to one-legged veterans. And you could create a group like I did with the Michelle with 1L of people that have that passion and that interest. So starting out and doing this gig economy and all the other areas that you can do, you can actually also create this fabulous wealth of knowledge and expertise and experience. And I've, you know, whether it's in North or South America or wherever it is, I've got this wonderful tribe now of Michelle's with 1L. And we can share these incredible stories about, you know, how we got our names, what it means to live with the 1L. And Michael McIntyre, who's this fabulous British comedian, he has this skit that he does around people wasting time with their names, which I won't bore you with, but it always reminds me when I'm talking to the other Michelles with 1L and the amount of time that we have to then explain to people actually spelling it with 1L. And many people, this is the other beautiful thing about globalization, many people that I meet now, they have to also spell out their names because of the unique spelling and different ways that names are spelt nowadays.
Wow. You know, Michelle, I don't know about you, Didi, but I can talk to Michelle all day long.
Yes, that's why I was, after our first engagement, I could not wait to speak with you. And I knew that we can talk about everything and anything like all day long. Like, doesn't it feel like we're at a tea party?
It does, it really does. And I'm sitting, you probably see me moving over here. I'm like, I've got like pages of
notes. I'm making mental notes. There's so many things that I'm going to take away from this conversation.
Oh my God, from the 3 pillars, the personal branding and resilience and purpose and legacy. I was like, that makes such great, that really is a formula for life.
Yes. And I'm dying to ask this question because this is really totally part of what you do. And I know that in my mind, I can definitely connect the dots in terms of making sure that you're embracing to change, making sure that you are being resilient and, you know, being really adaptable. But one question I really been meaning to ask is, what does it mean when you have the foundation, you know, going through your program and have built a foundation? Then what is authentic success? What does that look like? What does that really mean?
I'm so excited that you asked that question because I start with many of my clients and the very first question I will ask them in our sessions is, what does success look like? Because I learned early on from my time in corporate that success means different things to different people. And unless you actually identify, okay, we've spent, you know, this money, this time, this whatever, we've spent all this journey together and, you know, you made $100 million, but, you know, you're really unhappy and you're about to die from bad health. So where is the success there? You know, you lost your family, you're this, you're that, with everything that you were doing to make that $100 million. So identifying what success looks like, and that's why the work that we do, we work with women about lifestyle businesses. So a lifestyle business is very, very different to that corporate style business where it's about building and expanding and growing to a point where you have a large team, and et cetera, et cetera. A lifestyle business keeps you as the person in that whole framework, in that whole equation. And that's why I start with, well, what does success look like? So success for some people can look like, you know, a balance of time between the business and their family. It can look like, if people are a bit older, you know, achieving more of their bucket list or their dreams before, you know, their time runs out. Mm-hmm. Success can look like, if you're a little bit younger and also whatever age you are, a focus on money. So part of why I came up with that stress and the procrastination and those other taglines was that sense of security for women comes from money. It is a much deeper emotion, and we work with that as well, but it comes from having a steady money flow. And that's where that foundation, you know, I like to think of it as there's a nice river running past the house, and that river is a river of money. I'm a very, you know, imaginative person, and that money river is what we keep tapping into. How do we keep that flow going so that you can then have the other elements of success that you want? So it's not the only element, because money doesn't really motivate people. It motivates you if you're starving and other areas, but if you have a little bit, then you know you need other things to motivate you. So that's asking, what does success look like? Now, the interesting thing for many people that are in this business and in coaching and providing services to others, a lot of it looks like that intrinsic motivation about, I see you have an aha moment, and that is where I get my success from. My success, if you like, comes from seeing other people's success. My business success comes from other people being successful, because then it keeps that whole cycle going. If I help you to be successful, then in you being successful, you're energetically and in otherwise, by paying me, helping me to be successful. So I love to see it as this, you know, the tree and the cycles around the house and next to the river running by, where you've got this beautiful imagery and this beautiful vision of all the different elements of success and your foundation and your life and your family and your business living in this, you know, gorgeous harmony. And so success looks like it's in this beautiful, balanced world that we're working with and working towards, in a way that takes it from being just a conversation about, well, success is 2 new leads a week or $10,000 a month, or any of those different elements. That you need to know those elements, because you need to focus your mind, and you need to have specific deliverables or return on investments or KPIs, however you want to think about them. But that doesn't talk about the emotion. The emotion is building that vision, building that idea of what it is that you're doing it for. So that, again, it comes back to your heart singing, and what is it that you, when you're designing those houses and foundations and rivers and trees and things, you know, what kind of tree? Is it an oak tree or a palm tree? If you're in Hawaii, it might be a palm tree. You know, so different cultures and different backgrounds, cherry trees even, you know, if you're in Japan, mean that success in that imagery can mean different things, and success in terms of the returns and the KPIs can mean different things as well.
You know,
Wow.
I think that ending on that, what does success look like for you? And I know different levels and, you know, dynamic areas of success is, I don't think you could have put it more poignantly. And it got me to thinking about that, because in my mind, I think for me, success changes each day, week, month, year, right? It's dynamic. So I think that's
the dynamic in the moment, because your tasks and your activities are changing, but there will be threads. And so a lot of the work that we do with people is to look at those themes and those threads. And like I was saying, you need to understand the emotional side to build the foundational work. And that's where you come back to, well, what are the threads underneath that theme of success? And for many women, that's why I keep coming back to security. It's not the money itself, it's a sense of security that they want from having that river flowing with money. It's that sense of security that they have from having the group of people, the support network around them. So it's not necessarily the outside element in itself. It's actually that emotional, okay, I'm okay, my family are okay, my business are okay. So from that sense of being okay, Maslow's hierarchy of needs is very much something that we work with people and use, so that they understand, like with the foundation of the house, we're building that sense of security. And just the one last thing to share with people, with COVID and with the changes that have come out of COVID and will keep to come out of COVID, most people are operating now from that sense, that lower level and sense of, I'm not feeling secure. Yep. So whatever business you're doing, whatever service you're selling, you actually need to start with that.
Yes.
So when I ask people what's success to you, and they'll talk about different things, and it will change, like you were saying, LY, different times of whatever. But most people don't recognise that nowadays a large part of their energy and their emotion and their thoughts go to, how do I stay safe? How do I stay safe? How do I keep my family safe?
Yes.
How do
Yes.
my business, my job, my this, my that, whatever safe? So working from that place and then looking at those different returns, money, whatever, those things are, it's interesting because again, going back to the aha moments, you can sort of see people ticking it off in their minds. Okay, you know, my health is good, my money is good, my parents are good, my family are good, my this is good, my this. Once you've kind of gone through that checklist emotionally and mentally, you can then from that wonderful foundational place start to go for your dreams and your goals. And sometimes actually you may need to, like we keep talking about, there's things that you just can't control or fix, and you need to go, I can't control or fix that now, so I need to park it. The parking lot is a wonderful place to put many, many different things so that you can keep going. Just like COVID and what your state, county, whatever are doing around COVID, you can't control it. So stop getting upset about it. Just park it and focus.
And keep it moving, right? Yes.
Keep
Well,
going.
Michelle, this has been, wow, this has been a moment for me, and I know for you too, Dee Dee.
Absolutely, it has. Thank you so much for all of your insights and wisdom. I'm gonna really be able to put my head down on a pillow, really think about what success really truly looks like for me, and how do I keep my eyes on the prize.
And Michelle is generously giving as part of this series some pretty very great stuff. I'm going to get this one. She's giving the Mindset Michelle's Guide to Business Planning on a page. And how do they get that, Michelle?
They can get that from my website. So you'll see my name on the screen here. So it's www.michellejeno, one word. So there's no dot between Michelle
with one L.
One L, yes. It's funny, it's not a translation thing between cultures there. It's just always, it's one L. Sorry, people. So you can go to the website and see any of these amazing free gifts. I have many different free gifts on there, but the guide to business planning is one of those, as well as other gifts and books and things and resources. I like to give away many different things and resources. You'll also see on the website links for the Mindset Michelle TV show. So I interview people every week to talk about mindset and different tricks for mindset to help people to keep going on this journey. And the programs like the Mindset Makeover program. So the website itself is a wonderful, wonderful resource. If you also want to reach out and talk to me in person, then LinkedIn is such again, an amazing resource. And as I was talking about with the personal branding, I do a lot of my work with clients and with people through LinkedIn. So if you're looking to get some help with LinkedIn, then please also reach out to me via LinkedIn.
Excellent. And I know that you're also giving a very special offer for the Money Mindset Makeover program. And we're going to be including that and everything else that you described in with the materials that will go out with the viewing of this and those that are listening. So they'll be able to get that, and we'll make it really easily accessible. So Michelle, thank you so much, Michelle with one L, for joining us today. I absolutely love. I'm going to go look up your Facebook group. I just want to see what people are saying.
No, I want to change my name to Michelle with one L.
Yes, with one L. Michelle with one L. I'm L-Y with one L. Yes.
That's it, L-Y with one L and D-D with 3 E's.
With 3 E's, yeah. So thank you, Michelle. We will be in touch. I cannot wait to share this experience. This was an experience. This wasn't just a series today. This was an experience with everyone. And we can't wait to reconnect with you.
Thank you so much, Michelle.
It's been my absolute honor and pleasure again. I, as you can tell, I'm very passionate about what I talk about. And so Dee and LY, thank you again for inviting me on this series. And to everybody out there, I love to say at the very end of what I'm doing to everybody, to be great, to be fabulous, and to be you.
There we go.
Thank you.
Okay, high fives, everybody. All right, thank you, Michelle.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.